I'll be calling you a radical. This is an important video, so Nuscale from hell, Nuscale from hell. It amazes me how the Tribune, Deseret News will report this now after the damage is done. They wouldn't fucking touch it. Remember years ago when I'm fighting them? Fucking going at them inside the Utah State Capitol. I'm the one that no fucking Deseret News, they don't even know who the fuck what I'm talking about. So this is important. 7 cities have backed out. Heber, Kaysville. Now, Kaysville's the first one that took the bribe. Kaysville took the bribe. Now, this is important. Nuscale don't give a fuck if you back out now. They could care. In fact, they're glad you backed out. The AMPS bill for wind and solar, which I worked so hard on, so many of us, clear back in the day, they just stole it. So they went in individual cities to certain individuals, whether it be a mayor, city controller, whatever, and says, hey, here's $200,000. That's right, $200,000 a pop. For what? Well, just form some bullshit NGO, whatever. Just make up something. And they bribed him, and they just bought him. Why? Here, let me tell you why. The way it works on these little nuclear reactors, because of what we call Price Anderson. By the way, Jake Garn, he's still alive. The senator. Here, he fought Price Anderson for years and years and years, trying to get rid of it. So, these little nuclear reactors, they have to get private funding. During the Obama administration, I'm fighting them going crazy. I'm like, no. So they supposedly come up with their first funding, $50 million. So they got $50 million. I'm like, oh yeah, who the fuck gave them $50 million? So the Obama administration, this is when, after Gregory Jacko, that rat head of the Nuclear Regulatory Committee, who cowered down Fukushima, he keeps running his fucking mouth in San Diego, too. He needs to shut the fuck up. I know what happened. He's a big part of the Fukushima cover-up. He was head of the Nuclear Regulatory Committee. Supposed to watch our backs. He was inside the Situation Room when they covered up Fukushima. So then it became Allison McFarland. I'm going to Allison McFarland. I'm going to their people. And if you don't believe me, you go to Barbara Boxer's office. Remember when Barbara Boxer's office, she was head of the committee. She was head of the environmental, had all subpoena power, all the power in the world. She raided the NRC's office, went in. And the NRC, this is a fact. You can look it up. The NRC told Barbara Boxer, with full subpoena power of the United States Senate, told them to fuck off. Just like that. Get out. I'm not kidding. I'm jumping Allison McFarland's ass, but the only person that's ever confronted her about this was me, Kevin Blanch, in San Juan Capistrano. So I'm fighting. I'm full of cancer, by the way. I'm dying of cancer at the time. I'm in the bone marrow transplanted LDS. My doctor actually took me over. I'm in a gown with a freaking central line sucked up to 119 miles with my tree inside the Utah State Capitol, going at it with them. Judy from the Tribune, she did some work on Blue Castle, and then she had to bolt. She couldn't take the heat. Who could? Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, they played dirty. So they bribed all these politicians. I'm battling Deseret News. They'll do no fucking work on this. KSL still fucking won't even mention it. So they get the funding. I start digging in. I'm like, Kenwood Financial, I'm an old Wall Street guy. I'm like, I dug in. Used every connection I had. Oh, whoops. Kenwood Financial's under fucking federal investigation by the SEC for a Ponzi scheme. I'm like, well, so I go right to, the Department of Energy. I go to all the powers there be. I says, it's a fraud by inception. It's fraud. You got to rescind the fucking grant. This is fraud. By the way, they got found guilty by the SEC of a Ponzi scheme. So by inception, this whole thing was a sham. Now, stay with me. Jose Reyes worked at Idaho National Lab. Now, Trump names Christina Savakovich. She worked with him at Idaho. Don't you think that she's the one that approved this? She's head of the Nuclear Regulatory, which I call the Nuclear Rally Cheerleaders. Yeah, there's more fraud. This whole thing's the dirtiest thing in the world. On the banks of the Columbia fucking River. It's being annihilated by Fukushima. So it's our group shows up in Oregon when he tried to get it through. Finnegan's sitting right next to fucking Jose Reyes. Sitting right next to him. Our group, the Post-Ignorance Project. Lonnie, all of them are there. And they're like, fuck, they spoke. They all spoke. All the, and Oregon shot it down to them, fuck you. Everybody shot it, not you. Just so let's back up. So Idaho National Lab. Now you know I left Paul, who was born in Arco, my friends, that famous video where I go out house and I left his remains. He asked me right at that hearing. He died of leukemia. He and I fought the same time together. So did Johnny. He died too. I mean, Arco, Idaho is fucking radioactive as fuck. Idaho National Lab. So stay with me. Idaho National Lab tested this exact SMR. The first nuclear reactor in the world is there. If this little SMR, this fast breeder, this is the exact same one. I was in Vienna. I was in the UN. I was at the symposium when the professor spoke. I spoke at the fucking symposium inside the UN, the IAEA, last year on this, and he said the same thing. Kevin Blanche is right. These are the exact same thing. Idaho National Lab blew up twice, killed 3 fucking people. Oh, you think that radioactivity gone away? It was a fast breeder then. Oh, fast breeders don't have waste. Fast breeders actually have more waste, more deadly fucking waste. Yeah, Heber's going to put a little nuke reactor. Wells, Nevada, a little nuke you never heard of. Fuck. I mean, it's a fucking sham. So then they tried this exact same little identical same thing at Rocketdyne in Los Angeles, in the valley. Look it up, Santa Susana. Oh, it fucking blew up. They covered it up for years. Stevie Nicks made a statement about it. Vince Neil Vince Neil's little girl, 11 years old, died of the same disease that I have. He sued him. Then he stood down. Kim Kardashian recently made a statement about it because she lives there. It's the exact same reactor. Oh, that was a long time ago. What? It happened last year? Again? Yeah, in Russia. Remember? And it killed their 8 lead scientists. Oh, it's just a weapon. A lot of idiots were reporting it. It was our group. We know because there's certain tracer elements in freaking a nuclear reactor that are not a weapon. We know that it's a nuclear reactor. It's an SMR fast breeder. I asked John Huntsman to his face. You can look it up. John, one of these little SMR nuclear reactors Utah's funding blew up in Russia? Yeah, I'm the one that collected the data. Not a word. It's pretty bad when I have to seek information from TAS. So, 7 municipalities have backed out. Now, this is important. Every one of these municipalities took bribes. Certain individuals in their city. This is how it worked. This is how they were all about getting that big, $1.4 billion grant. That's what their eyes on. That's because under Price-Anderson, they don't have to pay it back. It's kind of like the Farm Bureau. Keeps getting these freaking mega dairy loans, fucking onions, fucking whatever. There's no intention of paying it back. That's what the plan. This is the scam-ockery. But under Price-Anderson, they don't have to pay it back. It's called the Immunity Act. 1957. Einstein was going crazy about it in 1953. And they tried to get it through. I think that's really probably what killed him. So, they've already shammed the money. Tim says he's up there in Corvallis. He says, right there, he says, these guys are driving around Bugattis and Lamborghinis. I says, fuck, I'd imagine. It's just a little teeny company. They've already shammed $280 million from the Utah taxpayer. It's already coming out of your bill. Your power bill, amps, which was solar and wind. They've already stole it. It's such fucking fraud. It's unbelievable. Jose Reyes, who apparently is not related to Sean Reyes, who's our Attorney General. Now, I asked Sean, at the Bear River Massacre of all places. By the way, I talked to Governor Cox, who's going to be the governor up there too. And Governor Cox, the reason we finally showed up this year, because I go every year, and this is the first time they ever, and he spoke. The reason we came is because this used to be Utah territory. After he got off the stage, I says, Spencer, I don't mean to play I got you with it, and I won't post this video because I don't want to do that to you. And he's a nice enough guy. He's just ignorant. I says, this was never Utah territory. What? I says, it was Washington territory. Well, that's not what we were told. I says, told? I thought you were a leader. You're lieutenant governor. You're supposed to be leading us. You were told? By who? So I asked. It's online. I went to Sean because Jose Reyes claimed he's relative. So now this is the irony of this. This is an important video. You can look it up. I'll find it. I'll get it tagged in here. If I don't know today, I'll do it tomorrow. So he says to me, no, Kevin. I says, you related to Jose Reyes? He says, no, I'm no relation. He sure knew that he wasn't related to the guy, but then I asked him about these Nuscale little reactors. He says, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what we're talking about. Now think about this. Now, was he lying to me? something fishy on this. Because then he turned around and he says, I want this to be perfectly clear. I am not related to this guy. He was sure, I mean, he didn't even really know who the guy was. I guess he did. Well, it sounds like to me he did know who the guy was. But he didn't know what the little SMR was? I mean, it makes no sense to me. I'm going to talk to Sean again. I'll talk to him. And I'll get to the bottom of this. Because this is a Fed issue anyway, you know. It's the Fed because it's a federal grant. So, you know, it's not a state issue. So Sean Reyes is off the hook on this, I think. But the bribes were taking place here in Utah. But it's a federal grant. But the company actually coming in here and each one at Kaysville, Heber, you know, Logan, Lehigh, all these different little municipalities. Is that a state issue? Now, I talked to Governor Herbert about this. And, you know, off camera, and he told me, you know, that he was opposed to it, blah, blah, this, that, the other. But he's always lied to me. So, I go to the Utah State Legislature. I'm down there every year battling inside against teams of lawyers. Just me. I'm not the Sierra Club. I'm not going. It's just the Post-Aaron Project. My little, you know, me full of cancer. Just me. Fighting some students from Ogden High helped me last time. And, you know, I'm interviewing. But that's when I went under the Utah State in the back. There's stairs. And I'm like, what's going on here? Well, there was a guy from Idaho there. And this guy was going after Reyes. And I'm like, why? What's he got to sign? I went and talked to him. He says, you know, they arrested me up in Idaho and threw me in jail over a weekend. I says, for what? Going after this whole Reyes Nuscale thing. I'm like, what? And so, you know, this is right before that. And then he had me a bunch of paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to make heads or tails of this, what's going on. And so I go on, there they are. I'm like, what's going on here? And I see a sign, Nuscale. Well, in the state of Utah, it's against the law to lobby while session's in. Full blown out party. I videoed it. It's right there for God and everybody to see it. They're at Weber State with their table, you know. I remember she told me, she says, have you seen Pandora's Promise? I says, that line probably. I says, what about, and by the way, Pandora's box, it was not a box, it was a jar. Fukushima broke that jar. They can't even get the mythology right. So, the whole thing is now, the FBI has rolled into Ohio because we worked on that deal. You know, the first, when they started going into these bailouts, it was in New York City. I'm wearing this because I just came from my cousin's viewing. Very sad. He died young of cancer. So, it was Status King Cuomo, bank bailout, well, which we know the mob runs the nuclear reactors in New York City. And I'm the first guy that was fighting. I was fighting going crazy. $7.6 billion. Status King Cuomo gave them bank bailout and chemo. Then they started going to house, and I'm going crazy. I'm fighting. It's just me all over. You know, that one in Chicago we fought. Gail was in up there just fighting him. We thought we had him beat. They got through. So now the FBI has rolled in. Ohio, we knew it was dirty. You know, Lindsay and a group of, I mean, I'm fighting them like crazy. We're getting text message. We knew how fraud, and we're going, it's us against them. Finally, the FBI got involved, and they went in there, arrested 4 state legislators. $60 million in bribes. Now, they won't go after the bribees. Now, there's a new report saying the FBI is investigating the bribees on the bailout on these reactors. So, they made arrests, and then they did the same thing in Illinois. The Democratic freaking House leader, the Republican, it's both sides. But in Utah, it's dirty as hell. You know, they did the same thing in multiple other states, including Connecticut, you know. They tried in Pennsylvania, you know, all the usual stuff, New Jersey, Oyster Creek down by the refinery. So they don't stop. I mean, federal subsidy, international subsidy, little reactor in Wells, Nevada, and Heber. I mean, oh my God, it's Beaver. Beaver, you been to Beaver? You been to Wells, Nevada? God, a little nukie never hurt anyone. Population 34. Yeah, they're going to put a little nuke reactor out there. It's all to get this government grant, and they got it. My hunch is, and you know, this whole, don't even get me going on to sell the jazz. Oh, God. Of course, that product. I had season tickets for years, until 99. I knew Larry Miller personally. God, what a great owner. He's rolling in his grave right now, I can tell you that. But well, look at the price. You can't even go to a game anymore. I mean, I've always put up my tickets, the first Jazz playoff game ever, courtside right there. I'm sitting right by Larry Miller, $15. That same ticket costs you 15,000 now. I mean, it's a horrible product anyway. I guess I'll be in Seattle within 2 years. So, big data. Yeah, he got rich in his basement. BYU professor. Okay. $8 billion from his basement. His father's got a Utah smiley face. Speaking of Utah downwinders, I like it. Mia loves the replacement. Ben McAdams. I know Ben. I like Ben. At least he'll bring up downwinder center. And you got Burgess Owens from Brooklyn, bankrupt 9 million times, but he played in the NFL. Has nothing to do with it. All four freaking opener. Has nothing to do with Utah. It's like Barack Obama. His mother, a downwinder, died of cancer. He don't care. Mike Lee lies to my face. I mean, by the way, Mike Lee, speaking of Austria, given the Nazi hand signal. By the way, I spend a lot of time in Vienna. One guy's like this with his arms closed all the time in that famous photograph. Everybody in Austria now says, his name was Augusta Landmeiser, by the way. Everybody in Austria now says, that's my uncle. That's my grandpa. The people tell you we did that because they made us. Mike Lee quoting Captain Moroni. Fuck, Mike Lee's the opposite of Captain Moroni. Mike Lee's a sissy. Donald Trump, if he's fucking Captain Moroni, I'm a rainbow striped fucking unicorn fucking flying zebra. So, the place is out of whack. Mike Lee's father died young. Kevin, I just found out my father's a downwinder. What? For the ignorant have inherited the earth. Why he's sneaking in the Italian nuclear waste energy solutions jump site. You got me. I'm the guy that's been fighting him tooth and nail for years, and so this thing's so corrupt. Nuscale from hell. It's the dirtiest thing in the world. Now, I got a hunch. Well, I don't know this, but the rumors that the FBI is already investigating. They're just waiting for this election to get over. I'll be in D.C. I'll be at the Peace Vigil. If you want to hook up with me, I'll be at the Peace Vigil starting November 2nd. I'm leaving, and I'll be there all week, doing my part. The anti-nuclear Peace Vigil 24/7. I'll be there for the White House, just like I was in 2016, 2018, these historic elections. I'll be there. Battling this Nuscale from hell. I mean, and anybody these idiots that propaganda talk, SMRs, fast breeders, and try to act like they're technologically smart and they're fucking idiots. Try me. I'll eat your lunch twice on Sunday. Just use one word. You don't have to be a nuclear physicist. You don't even have to be, quantum physicist, Kevin Metalbron, fucking fractal physics on Balco. One word, Fukushima. And when they start talking SMRs, 8.8 in Russia. Blew up. Oh, they're fast breeders. No way. They're more waste. That's a sham. Price Anderson. So they already took the money. They don't care if all these municipalities, they want these municipalities to pull out because the damage is done. They got their federal grant. It's spread out over 10 years. Now the Energy Solutions bailout, there's talk in Utah they're going to retract that. Sure they are. So, Nuscale from hell. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of nuclear corruption in New York, California. I mean, the Senate Opry shutdown, talk about corrupt. Peavy told me to go fuck myself right in public hearing. It's online. He's head of the California freaking commission taking bribes. Kamala Harris raided his house. Found the goods written on it when I know Kamala Harris, one of those freaking hearings where I'm going off, she's sitting right by me. So very interesting how this dynamic's played out. And the San Onofre shut down, you don't think that's Utah? And without me, San Onofre never shuts down. I'm the guy that freaking got it shut down. I'm the one that leaked all that. I'm the one that did all that damage. I was in the bone marrow transplant at LDS East 8 bone marrow transplant fighting for my life. Huh. Think about this comfort. Where's the San Onofre waste coming? Somebody says, oh, you mean to tell me they're going to bring it? They already brought the fucking hot generator. They bought it in 2012. I was out there. Cop hit me in the arm, tried to break my arm. Or not a cop. The cop saved me out there, by the way. It was a rent-a-cop. It wasn't a cop. NRC, the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate. Russia syndrome going on the peninsula from the Japanese trench to the Russian trench. What's that? They've squashed my view count down. They went after me so hard because So, Nuscale from hell in Utah. I'm telling you, and every one of you municipalities, you individuals, it's cities, Kaysville, what I remember when Kaysville took it, I went crazy that day. I was in Kaysville that day. I was going crazy. My daughter lives there. And I was like, I'm going nuts. LeConte Stewart on chemo on Balco. Who's that? I was at freaking front of LeConte's old house. They took bribes. You know, and I'm a wealth of knowledge. I'm a walking, talking encyclopedia on this. And, you know, the FBI needs any help, just ask. Well, just watch these videos. I fed it up on a silver platter. It's all fraud. It's big time fraud. And so everybody's backing out now. Well, that's what Nuscale wants. They got their $1.4 billion freaking free money. That's what they were after. It's a TV company. Start doing the math. The head of the NRC, Nuclear Regulatory, and Jose Reyes, the CEO of Nuscale, worked together at Idaho National Lab. And she gave the okay. And the grant. Don't you think that's a little corrupt? Kevin Blanche, the ultimate whistleblower. Stay tuned.